Guys, and welcome back. Well, it's mid-October. Down here in South Carolina, it's getting cool in the mornings and it is getting cool in the evenings. Of course, it's South Carolina because it gets hot as Hades during the middle of the day. But I'm starting to feel more and more like duck hunting. We got about a month and the duck season will be here in South Carolina. But many places across the country, duck season has already started. I've been asked several times recently, what am I predicting for this year's duck season? So I thought that I would do a short video on my predictions for the Atlantic Flyway. This is my flyway. This is where I hunt. So here we go. Y'all hang tight. We're going to get right into it. Okay, so I'm quite sure you've all heard that the weather up in Canada this year, specifically in the prairie pothole region, they're in drought conditions. They've had very unusually warm weather this year and hardly any rain to fill these potholes up. Last winter, they had relatively mild winter, and it just didn't have the ice or the snow to keep these potholes filled up. But that just wasn't the prairie pothole. That was across the country. Oh, you have pockets of places here and there that got a lot of rain, but for the majority of it, there was very little rain and unusually warm weather this year. Now, where do these ducks go when they don't have these small potholes? Do they go farther north? We think they go farther north. I don't think anybody knows for 100%. That's what I would suspect. And probably going up into the boreal forest region of Canada. Now, talking with some hunters and some friends of mine up in Newfoundland and up in Nova Scotia area, where their duck season has already started, they are seeing a lot of local birds, and any of the migrants that they do see are fairly mature birds. They're not seeing that many juveniles, which is kind of disheartening because of this lack of water that we've had all across the Canadian provinces. Now, the usual is every year that Delta or DU or the Canadians or even some US guys, they go up and they do duck counts. Well, we've had COVID. They're not allowing them up there. They're not being able to do these duck counts, so we don't know what the actual or even close to the actual number is. But if they're seeing if they're seeing mature birds where they normally net, I kind of got the feeling that we just don't have that many juveniles this year. Now, as we go farther south into Delaware, I'm getting some reports again. The duck season has started, or they're looking for birds, or they're watching, or they're scouting. They're not seeing a lot of birds. They're seeing what they're saying are local birds that are just there all year long or there during this time of year. They're not seeing any migrants. Now, as we follow the flyway down into Virginia, I am getting some reports of guys that had an early season. They did fairly well, but again, most of them were local birds. We come farther south into North Carolina along the coast. We've got two reports. One guy says that he's seeing a slight migration. So are these birds jumping over Virginia for whatever reason and hitting the coast? Don't know. Or, don't know really what's going on there. I got another report that they're seeing nothing but local birds. So your local mallards and your local summer ducks. But one guy did say that he's starting to see some divers show up. But again, not really sure how big of a number that we've got there. Down here in my home state, I'm still seeing nothing but local birds. That's all I'm seeing here. Now, I've said it once, I've said it twice, and you've probably heard me say it 1,000 times, so let's make it 1,001 today. Ducks need three things. They need food, they need water, and they need rest. If they have those three things, they have no reason to migrate. The only thing that makes them migrate is weather. Now, you're always going to have early migrants. It just happens. Let's take blue-winged teal, for example. We all know that they migrate early. Well, I got off the phone last night with a good friend of mine, and he's up in Minnesota, and their duck season is underway, and they have been shooting blue-winged teal through this whole season so far. And they're shooting a lot of them, and they're seeing a lot of them. So that means to me that the weather hasn't even gotten cold enough to push a lot of blue wings down out of Canada, or they're hung up in Minnesota. Now, just before I started this video, I got a phone call from another friend of mine in Minnesota, and he just told me it's on. He is seeing a lot more ducks now. They are starting to see a cold front come out of Canada, and he's seeing a lot more migratory birds. So hopefully this is going to start pushing birds down for you guys in the Central and Mississippi Flyway. Hopefully those birds will kind of ease on over to the eastern side of the Mississippi and then jump on over into the Atlantic Flyway and help me out a little bit. Now, the weather predictions for this year, I've been watching them and studying them. The predictions are saying that certain parts of Canada are going to be cold and wet. That Alberta region into Saskatchewan, cold and wet. The farther you go east, it's going to be mild and wet. So what does that mean for this year? Well, unless we get an Arctic blast, it comes out of a nor'easter, it's going to hang, these birds are going to get hung up in the north. And they're going to stay right above that freeze line. So unless we get a hard freeze line, they're not going to push that farther south, especially on the Atlantic Flyway. Again, we are going to see some migrants. There are going to be some that do push on down, but not the huge concentrations. It's going to be, and I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like last year down here. Last year we had a lot of water and very mild temperatures. This year we have had about average rainfall. We have about average water levels where I'm hunting at. But all I can do now is pray for the weather. I need to get this cold weather down to push these migrants down. The one good thing about this year so far is that we have had average rainfall, and they've kept the lake levels kind of low, so a lot of vegetation grew up on the banks. So we've got a little bit more food than we had last year. Not much, but we still have a little bit. And hopefully these ducks will find this food. But as far as the prediction goes, I predict a slow year, unless you've got an area again you're concentrating migrant birds. I think it's going to be a kind of a slow year for a lot of public waterfowlers. I'm hoping not. I just got that feeling because of the weather predictions. Again, it's a prediction. Weathermen, the only people I know that can make a living and be wrong half the time. But if I go by the predictions, I think it's just going to be a slow year, and a lot of mature birds and not a lot of juvenile because of the drought during the spring and during the nesting season. And that's my prediction, guys. That's what I see on the Atlantic Flyway. I do hope that it's going to be better. I am going to be out there as much as I can. Let me know down below in the comments on what you think that your predictions are going to be for this year and what you're seeing. Again, you don't have to give me locations. Just saying, you know, Virginia, we're seeing migrants. What have you. I don't need specific locations, just a generalized area on the Atlantic Flyway, just to kind of see what's going on. But that's all I got for you today, guys. I hope this helps. I know it's not the best news, but it is some news. Anyway, we will see y'all next time on Daddy Duck 365.